There we go. All right. Revelation chapter 17. All right. So before we go there, I'm always going to give you all the same speech, all right, every time. Um, this particular book with Revelation, we are going to just kind of focus on the reading aspect. Not too much precept because there's a lot of learning and things that I know I'm learning even with this. So I'm keeping it and kind of reading just so we can kind of just get the concept of what's being said. And then the more we go through it, I think more and more things will open up. All right. Also, I will just be giving certain aspects of maybe what some of the arguments are. Because there's a lot of arguments in Revelations, whether this thing happened already, is it happening currently? Is it going to happen in the future? You get all those kind of things. So I'm going to try to share some of the things I've heard. All right. And anybody else is welcome to share certain things as well. Okay. Depending how we go through today's chapter or two, I might go through that one that I said I was going to do last week. Right. Clear up that, but we'll see how it goes today. All right. Let's go to Revelation chapter 17. And let's do 3 verses at a time. We'll do 3 verses at a time. What we're going to do, I want us to make sure we just keep some things in mind and some notes. Okay. And some things going to be answered. Some things can be answered in the chapter. Some things, the more you read, I told you when you go through the chapters, it sometimes will explain or give more information on stuff that already been said. Okay. And one of the tricky things about Revelation that I'm seeing is some of the things he's already talked about, and then he's reiterating it a couple times, and he's given different kind of parable things. So that's something also to be aware of. So let's go to Revelation chapter 17. Brother, you can start from verse 1 and we'll read the first 3 verses.
And there came one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth had committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth had been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. And I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Let me go to the chat and make some notes. All right. Anything pop up for anybody with those 3 verses? Anybody got anything for those 3 verses? All right. So we're going to start off with the first part. There came one of the 7 angels, and once again, we keep seeing this theme about the 7 angels, and also remember, it'll show they're blowing horns in one aspect. It'll show they're pouring vials, right? So every time with these angels, something happening, right? Whether they're blowing a horn, pouring, and things are happening on earth. Okay. This is also showing what? That the angels do a lot of the bidding. Okay, so certain things that happen even now, even in this present time, these are things that the Most High, he uses the angels to illustrate some of those things. Okay, so not just messages, but also certain things that happen in the waters, that happen in the mountains, that happen in the sky, all these kind of things. The angels are doing it. Okay, but they're doing it through the permission, of course, Most High. It says, the angel talked to me, saying unto me, Come hither. I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. Okay, so there's a judgment about this great whore who sits upon many waters. There's a lot of different takes on the great whore. This chapter will show you at least one of the clear ones when it's coming to it. Okay, but I'm going to show you the judgment of the great whore. And so it starts to explain it, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornications, and the inhabitants of the earth have been drunk with the wine of her fornication. Okay. So once again, this is not talking about natural wine. Okay. But remember, these things, this is visions. You have to think about things like a vision when it's coming like parables and things like that. So don't take everything face value. Okay, some of these things are symbolizing. Okay, so when you think of wine, they made them drunk on the for the wine for fornication. So they made a lot of people, influence. They influenced a lot of people. Just like wine is a mocker, it's an influencer. Okay, so they made them drunk with the wine of her fornication. Okay, so it's very important. Kings of the earth, they're coming in what? They're doing things. They're connecting to her, and they're getting drunk through her. All right. In verse 3, so he carried away. Okay. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman. So now this thing is happening in a wilderness. Okay. Anybody know what the wilderness is, or what a wilderness is?
It's
Anybody
a
know?
destination. It's a desolate place.
Okay. Yes. Now we know when we put things together, we still have to understand terminologies, things like that. There is a wilderness when we left out of Egypt. Is that the only wilderness, beloved? I'm breaking slowly like this on purpose. Is that the only wilderness? The one when we was in for 40 years when we left Egypt? Ooh,
No,
okay. No, beloved. All right. That is not the only wilderness. It's a wilderness. It's not the only wilderness. Because some people will grab this and say, see, it says wilderness, and I know that we left and we was in the wilderness, so that's what this got to be. That's not what it got to be. Not negating it can't be it, but that's not what that's saying. A wilderness, it's a lot of things. When we did our feast, we will let go one of the for the atonement, they'll let it go into what? The wilderness. All right. So it's just like it could be wilderness as in it got torn down, even with the the temple, when they tore down the temple and everything, it was like a wilderness. All right. It's like left to itself. All right. So there's plenty of wilderness in the earth. Okay. Um, I saw the woman sit upon the scarlet colored beast, full of the names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. All right. So I'm going to ask the question. What has the names of blasphemy and has 7 heads and 10 horns? What has the name of blasphemy with 7 heads and 10 horns? What is it describing? Not you, Kai. Let me see if anybody catches it. Bring it. Should I bring it as a poll? I ain't trying to per se trick y'all. So the answer is going to be in that verse. So in verse 3, what has the name of blasphemy and having the 7 heads and 10 horns? Read that verse 3 again for us, Brother Kai.
uh, so he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
All right. So Brother Kai's reading kind of gave that answer away. All right. Well, raises. So when you look at this, and reason why we have to split it up precisely so we know what's going on. So a lot of times we read it, a lot of people will say the woman has this name of blasphemy and the 7 head and 10 horns. But what is it talking about? We've been reading about this, what? This 7 head and 10 horns a couple times already, right? Even when you go to chapter 12, it talks about what? The 7 head and 10 horns. Okay, so this is describing the beast. Okay, I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast. Okay, and this beast had these things. Okay, so she's sitting upon the beast. That's very important as we go forward. All right. Yeah, and we already kind of talked about the 7 head and 10 horns. It will kind of I think we'll even get details about that in this chapter as well. So we'll need to go further in that. All right. Anybody got anything for those 3 verses? Want to add anything to it? Or even take away? Right. All right. Let's go to the next 3 verses, 4 through 6. 4 through 6.
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her head was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration.
Right. Anybody got anything for those three verses, 4 through 6?
Well, I have always heard that it was the Catholic Church that was represented as this harlot. And then we got through the Inquisition of our people because they would not follow their religion. So we were definitely persecuted, through that time. And then even you could say even now in a way where we're still persecuted, trying to keep the Heavenly Father's laws. So that's my take on that one.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else? And I'm going to touch on that statement as well, Sister Robin brought out.
And I want to add to that because if you read the book of Maccabees, you can see who was that when it was forcing them not to, where they couldn't keep the laws and or circumcise the boys, the baby boys, and if they were found to do that because they want them to keep the Gentiles went along. What's that name?
Talk about with King Antiochus when he said,
him. So that's like a prime example too. Because if they were, we had our own that would turn against us, but if they did, there was punishment. And I mean, it wasn't light punishment either. I mean, there was torture. It was torture. And you see the same torture they done then. Sometimes you might hear about it in our act of war against what different countries that had happened, So yeah, the same way.
That's more important. Everybody know it. Well, we've been dealing with the Maccabees, right? So some of y'all should know it. I think we did read that part. But what happened is, what Sister Rob bringing out, we were getting persecuted, literally, if we didn't submit to that, right? They wanted us to be one people with them, not one people with God. They wanted us to be one, and some of us went out and did those. Okay? So when we look at that, anybody that was getting circumcised or keeping the law, they had the right to kill them, right? But some of our, and I want to give the shout out because sometimes sisters don't be knowing this, right? Because we had as much as sometimes the guys get a lot of shout outs, the women, we had some strong, righteous women. They were still observing the commandments. And when they had a son, they were circumcising them, okay? But they will kill the children and kill them as well, right? But they had an instant where they killed the children and had them walk around with their infant kid around their neck, all right? So it was a very, very harsh time. They were standing on these things. And when you understand these kind of things, you understand why when people was going with like Paul's writing and he's saying certain things, you can see how it can trigger some people. When it sound like, not Paul saying it, but when it sound like he's doing some of those things, it's triggering, it's giving those kind of vibes. Like, hold up. We know some of our brothers and sisters start going with the heathens and they started trying to tell us, don't do this, don't do this. Like, so this is why there was some tension even with those kind of statements he would make. All right. But that's a very, very great point about it. And I think those are kind of even foreshadows of things to happen. So we understand the things that happened on that time, right? Call that the abomination of desolation, right? Not saying it's gonna be the only one, but that was one of them, right? You see what happened there, kind of see what happened in the future. And this is what Christ was talking about, even in Matthew 24, he alluded to that. Okay, if you have ears, understand, but you have to go to the prophets to understand what was going on there. All right. I'm sorry. Anybody else? Anybody else from 4 through 6? And that's the way I kind of heard it as well when it comes to the Roman, the Catholic Church. All right, the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is very important when it comes to certain things. We're gonna, like I said, that's why we're gonna read and look at it. But the Catholic Church back in the day had a lot of juice, all right? Particularly the Pope. The Pope during that time had the power, like basically he could like sign off, y'all going to war or stop it. It was a lot. He had a lot of power back in the day. Nowadays, I mean, he got power now, but when he had those things, nation and everything following it, it was a very big deal. All right. Just so we know, with time, because some people like the Pope don't have no power. Back in certain times, he was very, very powerful, powerful than even kings. All right. But we'll see if it still applied to this. I don't know if that Elder Aaron or Sister Robin, y'all had something y'all want to add?
Yeah, I want to add, not only well, I guess they all tied in the Pope, but the Jesuits too, you know, you have them very allegiance to the Pope. And then like people say like how does it ties in here in the United States, which you probably already know. Let me see if I can pronounce this word, the obelisk. You know, the same they have over in Rome, they have here in DC. So all these things they're tied and let us see that yeah, everything can mirror each other that is here. And things are documented that shows that we are in a beast system, and not only beast system but for um royal aspect, but also church wise, coming out of that false teaching. Because now we separated out that false teaching because now the Father's waking people up to know who they are. So we pull out of it. And then, you know, and you got your family and friends look at you like you're strange because you no longer celebrate the pagan holidays and do certain things.
Mhm.
That's part of your also your persecution right there too. Even though we don't know it, but we're actually going through that, you know.
And this is why nobody, no generation escapes. Everybody gonna have to be tried, beloved. All right, that's part of it. You have to be tried. Okay, if you're going through it and you don't feel like it's no, it's easy. I'm going through nothing. You're probably not doing something right. All right, this is a little word of advice. It's probably something. Okay, so I'm thinking we had anybody else. So let's go back to that. So for and the woman, so this is talking about the beast, right? But now it says, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. Okay. So one thing we got to realize, this is not talking about just a woman. All right. Don't take it as a literal woman wearing these things. This is representations. Okay. It's like a few chapters back, it talked about this beast making war with the saints, right? And refer to us as what Israel as a woman, you know, giving birth. All right. So the same thing with this. What does purple represent when it comes to scripture? I'm not saying what it represents. When you're dealing with purple, what was something about purple? Just the color purple, definitely when it comes to like fabric and things like that.
Royalty.
Dealing with royalty. Mm-hmm. And that will kind of signify royalty. And also, it was hard to get that dye. I think it was very specific how to get that purple color, right? So a lot of times purple dealing with that royalty. And so you'll see a lot of times, even kings and everything, purple was one of those things because, of course, they want to show that they got that royalty, that power, those things that elevate them above others. So this woman going to be arrayed in purple, scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. So she is decked out, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. So when we look at this, it's a reason why it's saying this woman has precious stones and pearls, right? So first of all, we got to understand that it's not talking about just one woman that's having these things. He's seeing this, but she's representing something greater. Okay. This kind of language is talked about in the prophets. Okay. Having a golden cup in her hand, there's not no literal golden cup, but that's what he's seeing. All right. What's giving us the clue? Because it says a golden cup in her hand full of abomination and filthiness of her fornication. You're not going to see a cup and you can just see that, oh, look like some abominations and filthiness in there. Okay. So that's the context clue to say this is not just dealing carnally as we a lot of people might see it. Okay. But I want to grab and let us see something. All right. Let's go to Jeremiah 51. Show you something with that golden cup. And then I'll show you something else. Jeremiah 51. What verse was it, bro?
7.
Yes. We're gonna go to let's do 6 and 7. Okay. Now, listen, beloved. I know I love context. This is not particularly to Revelation. I'm not thinking in that sense. I'm using the metaphor that he's using for this. Okay. But this could be applied right to that time that he's dealing with in Jeremiah. Okay. But I want you to still see how this kind of verbiage is been used before. So Jeremiah 51 and jump down to verse 6.
Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity. For this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense.
You guys see this? Flee out of the midst of Babylon, deliver every man his soul, be not cut off in her iniquity. And it's the same stuff he's saying even in Revelation. Y'all better flee, get out of her. You're going to see, get out of her, separate, all right? Because what? This is the time of the Lord's vengeance. And the Lord has multiple vengeance. Now, this one he did in Revelation is going to be like one of the ultimate ones, but the Lord has his times where he repays vengeance on certain things and certain people and certain nations, right? Sodom and Gomorrah, it came up to the heavens and what? He put the vengeance down on them, okay? So we see these things throughout the scriptures as well. So he will render unto her a recompense. Verse 7, read that slowly for us.
Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad.
Oh, Babylon had a golden cup in the what? Lord's hand. Okay. I want y'all to realize the Lord's moving all this. Even the wicked. I know we went through that a couple weeks ago. Even the wicked, he having all this planned. I know what everybody's doing. Okay. So he's saying even Babylon, golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth what? Drunken. Same thing he's talking about. All right. Not talking about they drinking and they just, drunk what, with wine and everything. He's talking about what? With the fornication, all these kind of things. Abominable things. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad. Okay. All right. I'm going to go to the other part of that. That was in Ezekiel. I want to see something in Ezekiel. Okay. Because it's saying she's arrayed in gold and all those things. So let me find that. So we talked about this before with the teaching about the son of Tyrus. Okay. I'm going to show you why. So remember Revelation, we're going to go to Ezekiel 28, and then we're going to jump down to 27. So Ezekiel 28, 27. I'm just going to try to realize what I'm dealing with. So it says the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. Okay. Let's go to Ezekiel. Okay. Because this, as we should know, is not dealing with just a woman. The woman represents something. Okay. Ezekiel 28. And we're going to see it later on, like in it might be in the next chapter or even 2 chapters from now. But I just want y'all to see something. Okay. So, so this one's dealing with the king of Tyrus. I just want to get into context just in case y'all, some people don't remember. Give us verse 2, 28 and verse 2.
Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus, thus saith the Lord God, because thine heart is lifted up, and thou hast said, I am a God. I sit in the seat of God, in the midst of the seas. Yet thou art a man and not God, though thou set thine heart as the heart of God.
You're going to see the same thing with this woman later on. It says she sit there saying basically, I'm woman, I don't need no man, I'm good. All right. You will see it's just talking about the spirit. It's how they get. Jump down to verse 12. Jump down to verse 12. All right.
Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyrus and say unto him, thus saith the Lord God, thou sealest up the sum full of wisdom and perfect in beauty.
So it says what? The king of Tyrus is a person. The saith the Lord, thou sealest up the sum full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Okay. Perfect in beauty. Perfect in completion of beauty. Okay. Now, what makes beauty in a certain sense when it comes to the word? Let's look at it. Read verse 13. Everybody kind of have this as Satan, but I'm just going to show you. I got time to break that all down today. Go to verse 13 and read that.
Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering. The sardis, tapris, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold. The workman of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou was created.
So it says, this person, this king of Tyrus, he's saying, thou been in the Garden of Eden, right? We can go to the right today. But it says, every precious stone was thy covering. The sardis, the topaz, the diamond, he's giving all these precious stones, okay? And even going back to it says even gold, right? So these things were your covering. Beloved, what's a covering? I want you to think about, what does a covering represent? What does a covering represent? What's the point of a covering? What examples we can get with that? Let me think of one. When you're in marriage, right? Who's the covering I'll say for a woman?
The man.
Man's a covering, right? And the covering in the sense is supposed to be what? A protection, right? Even we cover umbrella, it covers, right? So the man, right, supposed to be a righteous man. He's supposed to be a certain covering, certain insurance, okay? When you're dealing with nationhood and things of that nature, right? The armies, the amount of money, and those things are a certain covering. Even Solomon talks about how money is a defense, right? It's a safety thing, okay? So why is it explaining these precious stones? Is it talking about this man literally having, stones cover him and all that? He walk around covered in stones, right? Listen to why. This is talking bigger than just the man. This is talking about what that man represent, that place. Jump down, go to chapter 27. And this the danger of just going to a verse. All right. I don't got time to, like I said, explain and break it down. But a lot of people will jump there and don't understand, and they say, see, it got to be this. It got to be prophetic. It got to be the devil. Because you have to take your time and see why is it saying that. Okay. Because it's talking about King Tyrese in the first verse, right before this verse, and they say, oh yeah, well now it's the devil because that's the only one that can be covered with stone in the Garden of Eden. Okay. Right. Just take your time, beloved. Just take your time. Let's jump down to verse 22. All right. This is still dealing with the king of Tyrese. We're just going one chapter back. Matter of fact, just so because it says perfect beauty, and people might say, no, that's the devil. It says perfect beauty. Let me show you that. That's already been said too. Go to verse 2 and 3.
Now thou, son of man, take up a lamentation for Tyrus.
Still dealing with Tyrus. Read.
And say unto Tyrus, O thou that art situate at the entry of the sea, which are a merchant of the people for many isles. Thus saith the Lord God, O Tyrus, thou hast said, I am of perfect beauty.
Oh, I wasn't saying that, saying it. It was this Tyrus that was saying, I am perfect in beauty. He was saying that. Why does he think he's perfect in beauty? Why do somebody start feeling themselves as a king? When do you start feeling yourself? I'm perfect in beauty. I'm good. Okay. Why was he thinking this? And it says what? He was what? A merchant. Listen to the point of it, the entry of the sea, which are a merchant of the people for many isles. What's the thing about merchants? They're giving exchanges of goods. Okay. So a perfect merchant be looking, I got everything. All right. But let's see. Let's get proof. Brother Michael could be saying this. Let's jump down to verse 22. Why? Because why is it saying all those stones? What is that important?
The merchants of Sheba and Ramah, they were thy merchants. They occupied in thy fairs with chief of all spices and with all precious stones and gold.
That's why he's talking about he was covered with all those things, because he had all those things. All right. He was good. I'm beautiful. That's what he said. I'm beautiful. I got all the best stuff. It's just like a woman when you're decked out, a woman decked out. Beautiful. Look all that beautiful jewelry you got. That's what he's going with. He was covered with that. All right. So it's talking about because he was exchanging and having all these goods, it's giving a description of what's going on. Okay. So just keep that in mind. We're going back to Revelation. Just keep those kind of things in mind. All right. Because you're going to see it. Like I said, once we read it, you'll see it again that it's not dealing with little woman. And then that can give you some kind of a explanation of why it can be saying that. Okay. And we're going to see with this woman, she's dealing with merchandise and exchange as well. Okay. All right. All right. Decked with gold, precious stones, and pearls, having a golden cup. So once again, explain this woman. And upon her forehead was naming mystery. All right. So mystery, not plain and clear. It's a mystery. Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abomination of the earth. Okay. So Babylon, you can think of Nebuchadnezzar, all right? That was the original Babylon back in those days, okay? It's not the same Babylon per se, okay? But there's some relevance. That's why he's using that Babylon the Great. And it's called the what? The mother of harlots. And this is where, to the Robin point, a lot of us get taught as well, we attribute that to the Catholic Church. And someone will say everybody gets things from the Catholic Church. Right? They'll say, oh, basically, if you got Sunday, you got that from the Catholic Church, right? So they're just saying that's how they're going to justify that mother of harlots, right? But we're going to look into that as well, okay? But this is where you hear a lot of it. They have been an influence now. I'm not going to take that from them. They have been an influence on a lot of things that even we do have been given from them. Well, not particularly us, but a lot of the world do, signed off from them, okay? Taking a sad way to get a Sunday, they was a big pusher of that. Okay. Anybody know what Protestant, how that came about? The Protestant church. Because they the daughter of the Catholic Church too. The key is in their name. The Protestant church. All right. The key word is what? Go ahead, Sister Angela.
I think they protested against the all of the laws and the strictness of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, they I'm gonna say all of them, they protested it to certain ones. Yes. They didn't agree, they protested and went against them. All right. They will still have the residue of the Catholic Church because there's still things they still do from it, right? But they protested certain things from it. I don't know if it was the
Millerites, like William Miller, Martin Luther.
Yeah, that's yes.
Protests, yeah.
Famous name, yeah. I forgot exactly. I don't know if it was the Baptist. It was certain specific things. You look into it. It was specific things that they were disagreement with. But yes, Protestant church. If you go with any other churches, they all usually have fundamental principles from the Catholic Church. That's why they'll call them the mother in that sense. Okay, so coming through them, coming deriving from them, and you still kind of sharing that DNA, even though you're trying to be distant, you're still them. And one of the biggest things, the biggest DNA from them is the Sunday church. And they will be proud of it. You can look on YouTube and they have this bet, right? They had this challenge to anybody. I think you can even get money. They had an open challenge saying, listen, if you can prove through the scriptures that Sunday is the day of worship, I'll give you money. And they will tell you, we know that the scripture, this is what they're saying. We know that it's not the day of worship, but we believe in our Pope so that he had the authority to go and basically push it to Sunday. So they will tell you openly, it's not a secret. Okay. So when you said, oh, go against Catholic Church and you're doing the same thing, no, you're them. You just didn't like something and you just changed a little bit, but that's their DNA. And you can't beat them through the scripture. They'll tell you, we even know. And that's the crazy part about it. They say, we know you can't find nothing through the scriptures because there's nothing in there. It was us that was the big push for that. Okay. But like I said, that is definitely one of the big ones. And there's little, they all deriving from certain things. Okay. So Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Okay. This is a great title. Not good in a good way. That's a big title, beloved. All right. So this ain't no small thing. This is something huge to get this kind of title. I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Okay. So when we look at this as well, we should already know the patience of the saints. What was the two conditions to be the saints? What was the two conditions according to Revelation chapter 14? I'll give you the chapter. What were the qualifications of being a saint?
Keep the commands of God and have the testimony of Jesus.
There we go. All right. Let me just show it there in case nobody ever seen it. So when people, oh, you don't have to worry about the commandments no more. You don't got to do this. You just sit them there. This is the last book. There ain't nothing else added, So here's the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus. Okay. So this is the two things. When you're dealing with Paul writing, Paul is trying to get them to have both of these. Some people's believing in the commandments without believing in Christ. Some people's believing in Christ and saying we don't have to worry about the commandments. This is the whole big mystery of Paul trying to get people, trying to get them. You need both. To accept Christ, that don't mean to discard the commandments. Okay? To accept Christ, don't discard the commandments. To accept the commandments, you don't discard Christ. They work together. That's how you get that title saint. You need both. All right, let's keep going. All right. Did too much talking that one. All right. We are at verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
All right, give us 4.
And the angel said unto me, wherefore didst
Hold
thou
on.
marvel?
Somebody had something they want to add?
Yeah, it was up earlier. It was just on my heart and it just oppressing when you talk about from the church, Catholic Church, but the son-in-law. But I almost like to stress as well, because you said you have those who keep the Sabbath, but I keep telling them, and they say, oh, well, you look at the Catholic Church serving these idols in the church, said, but don't forget, we could do the same thing by following these pagan holidays or stems from them, keeping the Christmas, Easter, and all this. And I says, and also having these idols in our homes. Because I think about Abraham, how you made those statues and stuff. And not only them, they make it as well. There's no Marys or just this thing that look like Jesus or angels. I said, so we gotta be careful that we're not also got idols in our home and not aware of it. Does that make sense?
No, make perfect sense. Absolutely. Because some people want to say things like I say, he's a deceiver, right? His thing is his job is just to deceive, beloved. It's a big point we need to know. He works in the field of deception. A lot of times we have you focus on the big circus over there, and you think, well, I'm not like them. But you is the clown. You just not in that circus, right? So the Catholic Church, yes, they are one of the big entities, and we see a lot of these churches, big entities of it, but realizing you better make sure your house is in order, because sometimes those things creeped in your home. And you say, oh, I'm not like them. I'm not like them. I'm not like them. And Satan look like they're like, in the eyes of God. Yes, you are. Right? It don't matter if it's a big old statue. They might have a 10-foot statue and you got a 6-inch statue. It don't matter. Both of it is what? Abominable. Okay? So these influence, and Israel did a lot with idolatry. That was one of our Achilles heels throughout history. It was easy for us to go back to idolatry. A lot of our conception was dealing with idol worshiping. Okay? So you got to make sure you purge that out of you, beloved. All right? All those things. Okay? Of this thing. Because this is how it goes, beloved. When it comes, even Christmas. Well, even if you want to get deeper into the Christmas, that Saturnalia, all those kind of things, you start going deeper into it, right? Think about how it gets to where it gets to. This thing spreads out. And people don't even know where it comes from. They don't even know the evil behind it because he done what? He done deceived and glossed it up so much. You're like, oh, I don't seem that bad. I'm just doing this. I'm doing that. All right. But there's a lot of wicked things at play. Okay. So we got to make sure we keep our spiritual eyes on these things. Below, we're supposed to be watching. Okay. Where we at, brother?
Verse 7.
All right.
And the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns.
So we see that explanation right there. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not, and yet is.
Mhm.
And here is the mind which have wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth.
All right. Oh, anybody got anything for those verses? Open it up first. And we got anything, it don't have to be what you know or anything. It could be something you heard, you know. We want to, this is the time we can kind of hear everything. So everybody here kind of thinks you're going to hear out there. All right. So the angel said unto me, wherefore did thou marvel? All right, why are you marveling at this? I'm going to tell you what the mystery of the woman and the beast that carrieth her. All right. So we got a woman and the beast. She's riding on this beast. All right. Which have 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast has 7 heads and 10 horns, not her. Okay. It's a reason, because when we read it, you're going to see that's going to cause a problem if you have her with it. Okay. The beast that thou sawest, was and is not. So some of these things, definitely in Revelation, you're going to see some things that's happening there. Remember, he's getting his vision. He's seeing things that's happening. He's seeing things that's going to happen. He's dealing with different timelines, okay, of certain things. So you're going to see some things like, yeah, this is here, but also, I'm sorry, this is already there, then it went away, and it's going to come back. You might see some things like that, but it's showing you the complexity of this beast, all right, or of what this one is, the beast. Yeah, the beast. So we say which was, because it was in the past tense, right? And this one said it is not. So it's not around, or probably don't have its power, but it also says and yet is, so it can still show you that it's still around. And we're going to see this as we go to which one gives a little more detail? Hey, let me go to that one. Okay. So the beast which thou sawest was and is not, and look at the quotation, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. Remember, we read about that a few chapters ago. Okay. I forgot exactly what chapter, but I believe it started off with that, right? Remember that beast that was taken, chapter 9, right? Look at chapter 9. 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth. And to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. Once again, you got to realize this ain't talk. I mean, everybody goes, "Oh, this is hell." This is only the 5th angel, and we know there's two more sounds after this. All right, so this is not the end. Okay, it says, and he opened the bottomless pit, and there rose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun was darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. All right, and there came out. That's when it started describing some of the things that came out of it. So there's this bottomless pit. Don't act. I don't know exactly where it is. All right. So this stuff is, he's just seeing this. Okay. So even the same thing with this, he's going to ascend out of the bottomless pit, this beast, and go into perdition. Right. And perdition dealing with like destruction. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder. So what's that saying? They're going to look at this and be like, what the heck going on? Whose names, who's going to wonder? Whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. They should be like, what's going on? But those that have their names written in the book of life, they should have understanding. They should be watching and seeing these things come to pass and be like, oh, this is what the word of God's talking about. When they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. Okay, so probably not coming to this manifestation, because we know certain things are going to happen. Brother Kai, you remember where the deadly wound was at? That's chapter 13. Found it. Hopefully next time we do it, beloved, even with some of this, I want to get everything that's pertaining to like the trumpet. I want to put all that in order so we could, even me, so I can see it more clearly. Because like I said, it's jumping pieces here, and there. So it kind of could twist us up a little bit. All right. Brother Kai, can you read verse 3 and 4 in chapter 13? Matter of fact, start from verse 1 so we can see who's dealing with.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Up, that's the one. Read.
Mhm. And upon his horns 10 crowns,
Mhm.
and upon his heads the name of blasphemy.
That's exactly what we just read in this chapter, right? Jump down to verse 3.
And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death,
Mm-hmm.
and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast.
And what? Because they seen this deadly wound, right? Oh my God, this thing is going to be over. He was, now he's gone. But what? This thing healed. And yet it is, because he didn't get extinguished then. It looked like he was done, like he lost power, but he's going to what? He's going to get back that power. We're not going to the rest of it because we read it, but you'll see that kind of almost that resurrection of it, okay, of this beast. All right, let's go back to chapter 17. Right. Let's kind of read it through. In verse 9, and here is the mind which have wisdom. All right. 7 heads are the 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. So this is one of, like I said, one of the context clues we look at. All right. Is saying what the 7 heads represent. The 7 heads are 7 mountains. This is where the woman sitteth. This is not the woman. This is where the woman sitteth. Okay. Now, I'm not giving out nothing for sure. Like I said, I want to do some study because there's a lot of disagreements when it comes to Revelation. And one thing can change everything with these things. Okay. So I'm going to just let y'all know, when you look it up, there's going to be people that say, oh, 7 hills, hill, you know, there. And everybody will have their arguments and proofs. One that stand out, and usually the most, I'm going to say consistent, popular don't mean it has to be right, but popular is Rome. That's the popular one. It actually had the nickname, what is that? Not the woman. No, they don't say the woman. They say the one that's at the 7 hills. It basically in his name, it says like the one of 7 hills or whatever. All right. So even in like the title of it, it's talking about where it's at. So this is where a lot of people correlate and even grab, like the Sister Robin brought out. Sometimes they'll incorporate even the Catholic Church and everything with it, dealing with that kind of that Rome, okay? Because of things like this. I'm just showing you where people connect certain things. So with the beast being connected to Rome, this is one of the things. Because they say in those 7 hills or 7 mountains is talking about the location at Rome, okay? But you will hear stuff here and there, but that's usually the popular one, I would say, okay? Anybody got anything before we go on? That's going to bother me. Revelation 7 hills. I forgot exactly how it said. But go ahead, Brother Kai. We'll keep reading.
And the beast that thou sawest was and is not. I read that already, right?
Yes, and that's what it was. The city that sit on 7 hills. They used to refer to that as Rome. Yeah, we're at verse 10. We have verse 10 now.
Come. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and one is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space.
Mm-hmm.
And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast.
You can read the next one, then we'll stop.
These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast.
Now, this is the one that probably causes the most problems. All right. And like I said, I'm gonna look when I was talking to Kai a little bit about some of this as well. But even a little bit of research, like I said, will have different disparities. So you will have there's a thought where this happened already, okay, and a lot of it contributing to around that Matthew 24. Okay, remember when this is dealing with, anybody know when they marched around and they camped it, and then they went and destroyed the city. All right, this is where Christ prophesied that one stone won't be upon another, those kind of things. So they will mark it to that event. Okay, so how they will interpret those kings is going to be different than how somebody will interpret it as something futuristic, right? So I'm trying to give you all both sides. So when you go to it, I'll give out some of the thoughts. But like I said, I've heard a lot of different ones. Well, Brother Kai, did you hear a lot of different ones as well when it comes to this? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have as well. They used to attribute to the United States or the country giving their power to, say, Rome or the Pope. And like you said, as you continue to study, you're like, wait a minute, there's been a lot of popes. So something's not adding up there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everybody swear they're right. You know, and listen, someone got compelling arguments. All right. I'm not going to negate it. You have to look and learn and make sure, because like I said, there's something that's not going to fit. Okay. The one thing I always want to say, like Sister Robin, that scripture, and I asked about it earlier. The beautiful scripture you gave last week was beautiful, because some people get caught up and you start questioning your faith because you don't understand some of this stuff. That is not what this is about. It's not the purpose of this stuff. Is to start questioning your faith. It don't matter if you know exactly what happened or anything. The one thing he assigned us to do is what? Fear God and keep his commandments.
Yep.
That's your assignment. This stuff we learn is little knowledge he gives and we can know. Right. But the main part, fear God and keep his commandments. Because if it's going to happen, that's what's going to help you. If it happened, regardless, you still got to worry about that. Okay? So don't get discouraged. I'll tell y'all when there's stuff that's like, no, you need to know this is better. And then there's stuff that's like, this is good head knowledge. All right. He is not going to take you out the kingdom because you didn't know the 5.
Nope.
All right. So let's go. I just want to share parts that I heard. Okay. So if you have it as a past thing, all right, the 5 kings, they will attribute to, of course, dealing with Rome. Okay. If you're doing Matthew 24, you will hear them dealing with Rome. Usually, I got some of the names. So the 5 kings will probably be Julius, Augustus, Tiberius, Gaius, and Claudius. All right. So the 5 kings, because those is what it says, 5 kings that fallen, right? So they're saying the time that he's writing this, remember, 5 are fallen. And then it says, this is verse 10 I'm talking about, beloved. And one is right now. This one they usually will attribute to Nero, Caesar Nero. Remember the one I said his name equals 666 or 616, depending on how that manuscript is. His name falls into that. That's where some people have the Pope, but there's, you know what I mean? That's why I said it's good arguments both. So there's a Caesar guy that has that name, and he was whooping our behinds. He was whooping Israel's behind. He's in history. You can look at him. He's very feared. Some of them call him the Antichrist as well. Okay. So someone will look at that and saying he's the one that is, and then that scripture says, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And that's where they kind of go with that one. All right. You will have beliefs that the 5 that were fallen, they deal with kind of nation as in Egypt, Assyria, Neo-Babylon, Persia, Greece. So you might have them. Some people argue that that's the 5 that's fallen. Some say it's the French, the Spanish, the Greek, the German, Ancient Minor. And they will say the is Roman, is the Roman Empire. You know, these 5 happen, this one is, and then there's something else that's coming later on. You will hear this is how some people say America, or they'll say the British or America, they kind of fall to that. So you'll hear different kind of breakdowns of it. Okay. At this time, I won't say for sure what it is. Okay. But you're going to have to do some research, but I'm not going to give y'all a half answer. I don't like working like that. Okay. So there's different breakdowns of that. But once again, this is a context clue of what's going on. Okay, so these is what the head's representing. So we know these things are figurative. Don't look at it naturally, figurative. Okay. And the beast that was and is not. So it's talking about this beast that was and is not. Even he is the 8th. So now I'm saying this one is the 8th. All right. And is of the 7, and he's part of the 7, and goeth into perdition, because it says he's going to come out he's going to come out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. Okay. So it's kind of, even though they're doing it like this, you still got to understand and keep it all in context. Okay. So these are what part of the beast, and this was going to happen. That's why you see the heads and all these things. Okay. Did you read verse 12? You did.
No. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast.
All right. You have different breakdowns of that. Some people will attribute that to I think Rome was split up into like I want to say like I think they said like provinces, and they kind of say it like that, and they gave them power, but they weren't like kings of their self. They was kind of lend power to kind of rule it. So you'll hear that argument. Some people will attribute, I think, to nowadays. Would that be the EU? Is that what they use this one for?
Yeah.
Okay. So even the EU. So you might hear that definitely nowadays when you see certain things, some people will panic. Russia came and did this, or this one came over here, and they're listening to people that's getting into these alliances and not. There's an EU called the was it European what's it called?
Union.
Union.
Don't forget the United Nations. No,
Nations.
it's not called United Union. We're all the countries.
European Union. Was it?
What? The United Nations.
Yeah, there's different ones. The EU is the one that that's the popular one. I want to say at least in Israel, they kind of always attribute to that one.
Okay.
But there is different ones that come together. So
that's the United Nations.
Yeah, United Nations I think they have a lot of them.
Yeah,
they got a lot of them. So with this one, remember dealing with that 10, so it's very predicated on who's coming in and out. I think United Nations got a lot of them. But like EU is they're looking at the numbers and say, oh, well, see, this one ain't part of it. And so this is where a lot of people, they'll hear a prophecy. You'll hear them say, as soon as somebody leave or disconnect from them, they'll have a video saying, see, I told you, it's so this is where you'll get that kind of stuff. They're looking at it saying they got to get those numbers because the kings and things of that nature. All right. So you will hear things like that as well. And they're attributing it to this. Okay. Could they be right? Maybe. Was there anything else we heard regarding this? I'm trying to think of all the things I heard. That's the big one. I could think that's famous. A lot of people I know go with deal with that. Okay. So once again, now you know why people panic, because they're saying, oh, see, it's that time, it's ready, because this is when they're going to get together and they're going to set this whole thing off where it's going to be the big fight, what they call World War III, whatever, going to happen, because these things got to be set in motion. So that's why they're looking at it in that sense. Okay. And it says what? These have one mind. So they're going to be on one accord and shall give their power and their strength unto the beast. So the beast looks like the manifestation of, it ain't a natural beast, right? But you can look at the beast, I think the sister brought out earlier, like a system or things like that. It's figurative, okay? So they're going to give their power, they're going to be on one accord to give their power to the beast. So they move as one. So it's that's why we have the EU and UN, those kind of things. They're supposed to be agreeing and move as one. This is how they'll stop certain things. So it's like where somebody get big, they'd be like, all right, they come together and say, all right, you got to stop that war, or you got to retreat. All right, you can't fight them more. It's kind of like that. So in that sense, it's dealing with that unity, and they're moving as one. All right. And they give their strength to the beast, meaning everybody collectively come. It ain't just, oh, this powerhouse is going to come and do this. It's collective. All right. Verse 14. All right. Verse 14, and let's see. Finish it to the end of the chapter.
These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God had put in their hearts to fulfill his word, Salakia, his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth.
All right. So We look at this, one of the big things, I'm gonna go from the last part. So the woman which thou sawest is the great city. Okay. And what I do, that city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. All right, because everybody getting drunk over, so kind of be at a high status for everybody to be basically thinking they're all coming and connecting to her. All right. We'll give details even in that next chapter about those kind of things. All right, what kind of people definitely connected to her. The great city. Some can say the great city can be like Jerusalem. Some people put it as Romans. It's another argument that's out there. So I'm sorry if I have to throw it, but I want to make sure y'all hear a lot of them. I think that's the big two that I hear about. I'm not sure if there's another one. But a lot of people will connect it to that. Okay. Remember, she's different from the beast, but she's different from them, but they kind of using each other. Remember, she's riding on the beast. Okay. So they still got that kind of connection. But when you look at it, when they have these 10 heads and 10 horns, right, this beast is actually they're going to give power to the beast. And what it's going to do is going to make war with the lamb. Right. Hopefully we know who the lamb is. Okay. And he shall overcome them, for he is Lord of Lords and King of Kings. With this title, is this talking about the Most High, or is this talking about his son?
Son.
Son. Okay. But it says King of Kings and Lord of Lords. That could only be the Most High. Is that true?
Yeah.
What y'all think?
King and Lord.
That's the son.
Okay. Yes. When you
He
see,
named him that.
say that again.
Didn't he name his son that?
Yeah, this is a title. It's like I said, nowadays we can get taught it. There's a title that's what it means, right? When you're a Lord of Lords, don't look at it as Lord God Almighty. Lord is a sense of rulership. So we will call, if you look at the old shows, I always tell you, I look sometimes the old shows, they'll say like my Lord, help me, my Lord, almost like that servitude. Okay. Also, King of Kings, saying what? I am not just a king, I am king over kings. I'm a ruler over rulers. Okay. So it's showing you he's not just no regular person. This is somebody that's conquering, and that's why he's using that sense. They should make war with the lamb, and the lamb shall overcome them. And when he overcome them, what is he showing? His presence. He's now what? Lord of Lords and King of Kings, literally, because he's over all of them. Okay. Of course, the Most High is the King of all kings and the Lord of all lords. Okay. But he's giving this, and brother made a great point. He's given this to his son. Let's find a precept for that.
Now think about when you saw the they said on the tree, basically of the cross, when the title put over his head, the King of Kings, or the King of the Jews.
Mm-hmm.
So he is the king. He is what we become the son, and the power of great glory. When it said, when the nations will mourn, because they'll see him coming in his glory.
Yep.
So yes, he is King of King and Lord of Lord. Every knee shall bow, every tongue confess that Yahushua HaMashiach is King and Lord.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I said, some people will have problems with it because they don't fully understand. All right. So when they hear, no, you can't have nobody as king, Lord, that's the title to the Most High. It's not true. All right. And this is why when Nebuchadnezzar, I'm not just saying for righteous, Nebuchadnezzar used this title as well. He wasn't blaspheming because he was a King of Kings and a Lord of Lords.
Right.
Okay? It's not, you have to understand what the language is saying. It's just saying, I'm a ruler of rulers, I'm a King of Kings, same thing. All right. If you're a boss and then you got the CEO, right? You got a lot of supervisors, then you got the CEO. I'm the supervisor of supervisors. That's all it's saying. Okay. So that is a title, even a heathen that's running things, he can grab that. Now, if he says he Lord of all lords, now he's gonna be in some trouble. All right. But just a Lord of Lord, King of Kings just means you're a conqueror. You're a conqueror of nations, you're a conqueror of people. All right. Let's go to Daniel chapter 7. All right. Why this shouldn't be blasphemous or shouldn't be even a surprise. Okay, because we're going to show where this came from. And if you want to know the difference between the Father and the Son, just in case they're like, oh, you don't have no proof. It's been knowledge in the scriptures. All right. Let's go to verse 13 just to even show it.
And I saw in the night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven.
Once again, we see that. You see, remember, he
Mhm.
went up with the clouds of heaven. He's going to come that. We see that translation thing with the heaven. And what they see, you'll see heathen people grab this. They will grab this and say what? They'll have their gods, right? Think about the Greek gods mythology, what they on those clouds, and they travel with the clouds. They grab a lot of stuff from here. Okay. But nonetheless, I'm sorry. Keep going.
And came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him.
The Ancient of Days is dealing with the Father, all right? And the same thing, if you go up beforehand, the fiery flame, around the throne, all those kind of things that even Revelation is talking about, we can see it's still dealing with the Father. So we see they're seeing kind of the same thing, all right? So the Son of Man came to the Ancient of Days. The Son came to what? His Father. His Father is the reference of Ancient of Days in this one, okay? And what happened, all right? And they brought him near before him. In verse 14, listen.
And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages shall serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed.
All right. So look at it. This is one of the parts, one of the places where it's telling you the Father is giving him this. Listen to that word. He was given dominion. The Most High ain't given nothing, just so y'all know. All right. He's given his son dominion, given him glory. This is why we can do things in his name, because it would seem like a blasphemous thing. When do you ever see somebody doing something in their own name? This ain't for everybody, but he can get glory. He don't get the Father's glory. He gets his glory. All right. He gets glory and a kingdom and a people and a nations and language. They should what? They're going to all serve him. Okay. His dominion is an everlasting dominion. Okay. So this is why he didn't set up when he came during that Matthew, Mark, Luke time, the gospel era. He wasn't sent to set up at that time, because if he did, beloved, he will have to rule. There ain't nothing conquering over that. Okay. So that's why he had to come back. He's going to establish it. So this is why when he left, and you go to Acts, he says what? Well, at this time you establish the kingdom. Okay. Why is he saying that? Because they know, no, we know you're supposed to be taking over. We know we're going to get back to our power. Okay. I know we mentioned we ain't reading in a while. So go to this is Acts chapter 1. Brother Kai, just read verse 6.
When they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel?
At this time, because they let us know, yeah, you died, you did what you're supposed to do. You hear though, are you going to restore the kingdom back to who?
Israel.
Because we had a kingdom. This time we ain't function as a kingdom. But he's saying, are you going to now restore the kingdom to Israel? Because he's going to be sitting on the throne when it get restored, and we know we don't have to worry about nothing ever again. Right? But he's saying, that's why I told him in verse 7, like, nah, it ain't the time for you to know the seasons, but the Father in his own power. When the Father said it, that's when it's going to happen. That's why we're in Revelation and we see some things about the Father, and he's sending these things happening because it's showing that he is going to move and do these things. All right. But Christ told them, y'all don't worry about that. But the Father having this power, it's a season where it is going to happen. All right. He's just saying it ain't happening right now. So y'all going to have to deal with what y'all dealing with. All right. Let's go back to Revelations 17. He says to me, the waters which thou sawest, so this is very important. So remember, the woman was sitting in the waters in the beginning of the chapter. The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are what? Peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. Okay. So when you see water in some passages, you got to look at the context. It can be referring to people. Now, every time you see something with water, it is not referring to people. A lot of people make those kind of mistakes, try to apply it to every time you see it. That's not what it is. All right. But you will see certain things like one of the prophecies said they will come in like a flood. All right. That was talking about people, basically overtaking this is dealing with the prophecy of Daniel when they come into the flood. That was dealing with the people, that army coming in there and overtaking it. Okay. So you'll see certain things like that. So the woman is sitting on these things. All right. So a literal woman can't be sitting on peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues, but it's showing that representation. Okay. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast. All right. So this woman, remember, she was sitting upon the beast. It says, these shall hate the whore. All right. So they're going to actually not go, they're going to go against the whore, and she'll make her desolate and naked. So expose her, take what she has. Okay. And shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Right. So this woman's going to have to go through she's going to be taken down. All right. But it says what? For God hath put in their hearts. Listen, who did it? God has put in their hearts to fulfill his will. This will be, I know it's hard for people to understand. This is why we got to understand with the scriptures. The Most High is orchestrating this. All right. He orchestrates this. That's why everything is going to go exactly how he said it. Okay. So those people he's using, they're going to do that, and it's according to his purpose, so it can set things off. All right. And to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast. All right. Unto the words of God shall be fulfilled, or shall be accomplished. Okay. So all these things is going to be set in order, and the Most High has done it so that this can kick off. So what we already know what's going to happen is going to explain that about how he's going to come and definitely beat up everybody. All right. That's the quickest way you can put it. Okay. 8:16. I don't know if we're going to push another chapter, because that one is, I don't think this one will take long. All right. I won't force another chapter. What we can do, I can go back to the thing I wanted to share. Okay. I'll leave it up to y'all. What do y'all think? Do y'all want to try to do the next chapter? I'm not going to precept that. I mean, it'll be kind of a read, but that's up to y'all. We can either try to do the next chapter, or I can just show y'all the thing, something a few chapters ago that I wanted to touch on. What y'all think? The vote is y'all's. I will give it to the people. Next chapter, or I can just review something. Don't all speak at once. All right, I got a review, so that's all I heard, so we'll go with that. All right, so I want to take y'all back to Revelation chapter 14. All right, Revelation chapter 14. All right. I want to start with let's go to 17, but the point I want to touch on is verse 20. So this is Revelation chapter 14, and we're just going to start at verse 17, but I want to touch on that 19 and 20.
And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar, which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, Thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe.
So you understand the sickle back in the day? Remember, that's the thing where you see a lot of times they're cutting, and this is how they basically reap the harvest. All right, they'll use a sickle. Okay, so he's using that and using the grapes, because grapes can represent what? What do you think the grapes are representing? This is dealing with the same thing we've kind of been dealing with, all that fighting and war and stuff going on. So if he's saying put the sickle in there, it's ripe. What are the grapes representing? What do we think?
People.
I know it's a few weeks ago, dealing with people. All right. So grapes are fully ripe. So it's the time to harvest. We even hear this about Christ. Remember, we said at the time of the great harvest, and they're going to come and start all these things together, beloved. All right. So not talking about the regular harvesting stuff. This is talking about war times. All right. So this is talking about destruction. So he's saying this is the time. Okay. Verse 19.
And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God.
So he's saying he grabbed these grapes, and what did he do with the grapes? He cast them into a great wine press. All right. And it says the wine press of the wrath of God. Okay. So when we look at this, it's not a literal, don't think of it so like it's a wine press. This is what he's seeing. But it's talking about gathering these grapes, which is going to be representing the people, and put them in the wine press. And the key is what? Of the wrath of God. Okay. So what do we think that's dealing with that? But the Kai already told you the grapes are dealing with people. And now it's talking about the wine press. You need to know what a wine press does, and hopefully you can understand it.
Mm-hmm.
What do we think what's the wine press for? Maybe we should work our way up to it. Anybody know what a wine press is? Point of the wine press?
To smash the grapes.
How you make wine, you go in there, usually they put it in the big bucket, right? You have to look at the old movies. Now, how you do it now with all this machinery? Big bucket, and they'll put their funky feet in there. They'll just start squishing. This is real manual labor. They squishing, and of course, with grapes, you squish it, and what? The juices come out. That's blood. That's with the blood. If the grapes represent the people, what is that? That's the life in it. So you squeeze them, and what? The blood's coming out. Okay. Same reference point where Christ said, "You must eat of my flesh and drink of my blood." What was the representation of the blood? The wine. So we see that language is still being used in places. So gather the vine of the earth, because remember, they're going to gather in battle, right? Last time I didn't touch on it at all, but I wanted to make sure I just showed y'all what I seen. And cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. He said he's going to gather the armies together to go against the sun. Okay. So he's gathered them together, and he's going to what? Put them in the winepress. He's going to what? Destroy them. Okay. So verse 20, read this slow.
And the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the winepress, even unto the horse bridles, by the space of 1,600 furlongs.
And I kept it because I kind of had what I thought, but I wanted to make sure I look back a little bit just to make sure. So the wine press was trodden without the city. So that means this kind of stuff started happening outside the city. Without the city, you can look in the text of the Bible. That means outside of it. Okay. So he's saying what? The wine press was trodden. This is where the killing has happened. Okay. So this is happening outside the city. Matthew 24. Where is that destruction happening, beloved? Anybody know where Matthew 24 destruction is happening?
In Jerusalem.
In Jerusalem, right? If y'all remember, that's where Christ was telling them, you won't see one stone upon another and all this stuff. And these buildings you see, they're not going to be there, right? So this is saying this event is happening outside the city. Very important with the location. And then it says the blood came out of the winepress, even unto the horse's bridle, by the space of 1,600 furlongs. Why this makes sense? Because if all this thing is happening in the city and outside, it ain't gonna fit too well. Okay, with the understanding I have. Okay, this is giving a distance. Okay, this is giving a distance. This I think adds to, if it comes in miles, it might be around 170, 200 miles. Okay. So it's very important to say he's going to squish this wine press, and it's going to be what? It's going to be basically wine for this long. All right. That far. We're going to hold this because we seen this kind of stuff. We should know it. All right. I want to take y'all, and we kind of read these, I think, the other week as well. But like I said, I want to make sure we just make it a little clearer. Let's go to Isaiah 34 again. Let's go to Isaiah 34. He's saying, why is it talking about the great wine press? And why is it saying The blood was coming in that far. What is he talking about? Why is it like that? You need to explore. All right. So let's go to Isaiah 34, and we can start at verse 1. Start at verse 1 real quick.
Come near, ye nations, to hear and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world, and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of Yahweh is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He had delivered them to the slaughter.
So this is what he's saying. This is the first part. Come near what? Ye nations, to hear and hearken ye people. So he's telling you these nations, I want y'all to listen what? Because this is going to be pertaining to you. All right? Because Revelation told you already what? He's going to gather the grapes. You know, see, he's gathering the grapes. The grapes represent peoples, represent those nations that he's going to what? Going to be dealing with the wrath of God. He's going to be destroying. So he's saying the world and all things that come forth of it. All right? For the indignation, why? For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations. This stuff is about to hit all those nations. Okay? And his fury upon all their armies. He have utterly destroyed them, and he delivered them to the slaughter. Okay? So it's going to be a big slaughter. Read verse 3.
Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood.
So it's so much that the mountain, listen what it says, it's going to be melted with their blood. It's showing you the amount of blood that's coming from this. So that's how many people's getting killed. It seems like the mountain is melting with the blood. Think about those school projects. You had the beans falling down the volcano. You look at it, it's like it's melting with it. This is what he's saying. This is why he's making it. It's a big point he's bringing. All right, verse 4.
And all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heaven shall be rolled together as a scroll, and all their hosts shall fall down, and as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a fallen fig from the fig tree.
And this is dealing with, we explained that a couple times, this is dealing with the powers that be, because they will be referred to as those of heaven and things like that, because that's the biggest glories in the earth. That's the power, the greatest powers in the earth is the things like the sun and the moon and the stars, those kind of things. So this is why they refer to it as some of that language they use in the scriptures. You can go to Daniel saying the same kind of language, all right? But it says what? And all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off the vine, and as the falling fig from the fig tree, all right? Verse 5.
For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment.
So my sword shall be bathed in heaven.
Uh-huh.
Nobody looks at what is he talking about? It's going to be bathed in heaven. Because he's referring to the metaphor he's using for verse 4. Y'all thinking Christ stabbed the sun and did all this? What is it bathed in? That's the question. Let me start asking questions, because I don't want to just be giving everything. What is his sword bathed in? What do we think his sword is bathed in, beloved? Not you, Brother Kai. Let me see. It says, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven.
Is it bathed in judgment?
It's in judgment? Yeah, judgment's happening. So that's what's going to make it. But what is he bathing it in? Remember, I'm connecting this to Revelation. But what are we looking at? What is he doing with what are we going to be doing with a sword? What do you think he's doing with a sword? Is he using it to cut onions? What is he bathing this thing in? Chat.
Angel said killing.
Killing, yes. So it's talking about, as I said, we gotta look at these metaphors. It's going to be bathed in blood, okay? Because look what he's saying. He's coming from the mountains. Listen, this is why we put all of it in order. He's saying, people come up. I want y'all to listen. It's going to be a great slaughter. Verse 3, the slain shall be cast out. It's going to be stinking because it's going to be all these carcasses, right? This ain't happening from just some plague and they just pass out. No, it's going to be some killing, going to be blood. And the mountains shall be melted with their blood. So he's saying so much blood that's happening on this mountain is like it's melting. Also, when you think about mountains, that is a high place, okay? When you think about mountains as well, there's a certain bird that loves to be very high in the sky. Anybody know that bird that likes to be very high, make his nest very high? See if anybody catch it. Definitely, y'all should know it. Right? There's a certain bird. He makes his nest, as they say, in heaven. Okay. Yes, Stans is right. An eagle. Okay. Eagle. That's the unique. They're the one of the only birds I think can fly straight into the sun. Okay, as well. Little fun fact. So we look at this. He's saying, I'm coming, and these people are in the mountains. I'm coming and doing so much killing, and all that blood is like it's coming down upon the mountain, like the mountain is melting with blood. So the host of heaven, people get all mixed up with that. So he's doing this killing up there. All right. This is where Idumea is. Idumea is like Edom. They were kind of deal with the mountains. They kind of even lived there. Okay. So my sword shall be bathed in heaven. He ain't giving it a bath. What he's doing, he's bathing because it's filled with what? Blood. When you think about getting bathed in something, what? You're drenched in it. My sword is drenched with blood. What? In heaven. What was he doing? The only thing's in heaven, right? They saying it got to be the stars and the moon. No, he's saying that's the power that be. He's saying there. I'm killing him up there. Okay? So it's like bathed in heaven. Behold, listen, it shall come down upon Idumea. So he's telling you exactly who he's going to be coming and killing. All right? And upon the people of my curse to judgment. Right? So the brother was right with that. This is the judgment. The judgment is what? Killing. This ain't the little Christ you had during, Matthew time where, forgiveness that everybody putting like this one, when he come back, it's the man of war now. Okay? All that talking and getting himself together, this is the time, beloved. When he comes, it's going to be a very different picture. Okay? Read verse 6.
The sword of Yahweh is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For Yahweh have a sacrifice in Bozrah, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea.
So I want y'all to lose it. I want y'all to realize he's not talking about little animals that's getting all this blood. He's talking about he's killing the people. And it's like a great sacrifice. When you go to Revelations, we'll get in like a chapter or two. It says, the beast, the fowls of the air, it says, come to the great feast of the Lord and eat up the carcasses. All right. So he's using certain language. It's about to be a real buffet for y'all. It's going to be some good eating because it's going to be all these dead bodies everywhere. And the vultures and the fowls, they're going to love that kind of stuff. So he's saying, y'all come all over heaven. Y'all come because it's going to be a great death, a great slaughter. So he already tells you the sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with the fatness and with the bland of lambs and goats and the kidneys of rams. For the Lord, listen, have a sacrifice in Bozrah. You want to see what he's doing in Bozrah? He's killing. And a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. So he's telling you, I'm coming and I'm going to be destroying them. Okay. And this is where it's going to be a lot of blood. All right. Now we got to keep that memory in mind. The Lord has a sacrifice in Bozrah and Idumea. All right. Bozrah and Idumea. Keep that in mind. Let's go to now. Which one I want? Let's stay in Isaiah. Let's go to 63. I think that's the one.
Yes.
There's another one, but I'm gonna I ended on this, so I'll just give y'all this one. All right. Another name for Idumea is what? Anybody know? Said I'm going to slaughter. What do you say? I'm going to slaughter Idumea and Bozrah. It's another thing for Idumea. Somebody Google it. All right. Edom. All right. Edom, Idumea. Tomato, tomato. Okay. Very important because this is still linking with that. All right. Isaiah 63. Isaiah 63. and give me verse 1. Isaiah 63 and give me verse 1. Because he said, I got a great sacrifice in Bozrah and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea, right? That is Edom's. All right, go ahead, brother.
Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Bozrah? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save.
So, beloved, it says, who is this? Who is this individual that cometh from Edom? I gave the clue. Edom, Idumea. With dyed garments from Bozrah. Why is it making a mention of a dyed garment? What is that dealing with? And who is that who that they're talking about? It says, who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Bozrah? From dyed garments from Bozrah. Why is it referring to this person to having a dyed garment? All right, no problem. Okay. So who is this that coming from Edom? Is telling you the place he's coming from because he just fought there. All right, let me put them together just so we can kind of see it. All right. Need to notice because this is dealing with Christ, right? For the indignation of the Lord is upon all nations. All right. This is when he's fighting. You know, Christ is coming to do it. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea. The Lord have a sacrifice in Bozrah and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. Now he's saying what? Who is this that's coming from Edom? Who's coming from Idumea? And he got a dyed garment from Bozrah. The garment is dyed because what? It's blood. It got so much blood that it's like the garment is dyed. So I want you to realize that, beloved, it's a great slaughter he's doing. So he's saying, who's this one that's garment is drenched in this blood coming, and it's telling you the direction they're coming from. They're coming from Bozrah, coming from Idumea. This that is glorious in its apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. All right, because we know who's doing this. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. This is what he's saying. I speak in righteousness, mighty to save. This is dealing with Christ. Verse 2.
Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat?
Treadeth in the what?
Wine fat.
Oh, that's why the Revelation is saying the wine press.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Why does it look like this guy is traveling this far, and how we see in his apparel, it looks like he's been squishing grapes in his garment, and what? We see the residue. But we know it's not grapes, it's dealing with what? The blood. Okay? So he's so drenched, and think about if you're drenched or you're bathed in something, what happened? What's happening? It's dripping off your garment. It's like a trail coming. So he's saying, we seen this guy, this apparel, right? He's red in thy apparel because it's blood, like you've been squishing grapes. Okay? They're saying this for a reason, beloved. Verse 3.
I had trodden the wine press alone, and of the people there was none with me. For I would tread them in mine anger and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment.
So he's giving you once again the description of how he's doing it. He said, I tried the wine press alone. A lot of people quote that part. All right, now we should know what that's really dealing with. All right, so he's going to be doing some slaughtering, some killing, and it's like he's died. They got blood sprinkled all over him. Okay, verse 4, and then we'll go back to Revelation. We kind of ended there.
For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come.
All right, so that's why I say it's a time. This is where we're getting redeemed. This is what They was talking about Acts 1, will you restore the kingdom of Israel? Because they're going to happen when people just say, you think they're going to give land? I hope we don't think people just going to give up land. Oh, yeah, y'all can come here. Yeah, it's fine. No, 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 no. They fight for that stuff right now. They fighting over land, a lot of them that don't even belong to them. You think they're going to give it up? Nah. All right, so there's going to be a lot of killing when he comes because you got to put things in order, okay? But that's at a certain time. So let's go back to Revelation. And we can end it there, all right? What chapter was it in? I'm messed it up. So we see Isaiah. It's another spot as well, but like I said, I'm just showing you those two. So we look at it. This is 14. I'm gonna read 18 real quick. And another angel came up from the altar, which had power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, thrust in the sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth. Gather all these people together, cluster them together, for her grapes are fully ripe, because it's time to harvest. All right, it's time for the what? Vengeance. When you're doing harvest, that's a time. Even what Christ was saying, the laborers are few, right? He said the harvest is ready, the laborers few. The harvest is ready for what? The picking. Saying now is the time for what? The slaughtering. So this was dealing with the killing. Verse 19. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, because he's doing what? Now it's time to reap. And gathered the vine of the earth and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. So now gather them together so they can be what? Destroyed. Okay? You got to gather together because it's got to be a great slaughter. Ain't going to be a great slaughter with just a few people. No, he put them all together so it can be a great, great slaughter. So his garment be bathed in blood. Verse 20. And the winepress was trodden without the city, because we already showed you who is this person coming from Basra, from Idumea, that looked like they came from a wine press. Seemed like it goes with it. I could be wrong, but it seems like it goes right with it. This happened what? Outside Idumea, Basra. Y'all can look it up. I don't know if they'll give you the exact second, but these are miles away from the city. Just saying. And the blood came out of the winepress, even to the horse's bridle, by the space of 1,600 furlongs. So it's telling you the space that this was. So this ain't just happening in the city. It's telling you this is the space from the city, without the city, for it was. So when you look at it, you're going to see these miles away. And you can still connect it because there's still other places, another spot you have to go to. So like I said, but that's a starting point so you can see it. So I wanted to make sure I touched on that because I didn't the other time we touched on it. Okay. But that was it. All right. That was it. All right, beloved. We are going to close out.